Hey everybody, welcome back. Turnpike to Turnpike Fantasy Football 2014. I'm League Commissioner Kevin Babula, and this is the Week 2 preview show. So Week 1's in the books. We've got 6 teams undefeated, 6 teams winless. That's what happens after Week 1. And you know what else happens after Week 1? Panic! But there's no need for panic because we all have solid teams. Everybody in this league knows how to put a team together. Some of us got really lucky the first week. Some of us didn't. But I'm not going to panic, nor should you. Just see what happens. The one thing I will tell you, though, is I'm proud to see the fact that the waiver wire is so thin. You guys are amazing at drafting, amazing at picking up players, because I have the number 1 spot in the waiver wire. And guess what? There's nothing to pick. So, who knows what's going to happen? All I know is my team couldn't perform worse than it did, but I'm not giving up hope. I like it. I like a lot of your teams. Bob, we'll get to your team in a minute. Jeff, Golden Bomb, we'll get to your team in a minute. I think that the fact that Jeff is right now in Punta Cana watching this video is a disturbing thought. Not so much that he's in Punta Cana or watching the video, but just the fact that he's probably in a bathing suit with his bald head and everything else. Anyway, let's get to last week's action. First up, we've got the aforementioned league champion, Jeff Arai Heskawi Golden Bombs, Hamilton Square Possums, taking on another past champion, Kenny Long's Godfathers. Excuse me. Jeff wins this one 115-110 in a very close match. Jeff got 47 points out of his quarterback, Matt Ryan, 22 points out of DeMarco Murray, and 10 points out of Giovanni Bernard. Where Kenny got 29 points out of the cross-eyed Marshawn Lynch, 16 points out of Vernon Davis, and 15 points out of Josh McCown. Now, that was a really quick start for him because Cam Newton, his quarterback that he drafted in the 3rd round, wasn't available due to cracked ribs. So Kenny, good luck scrambling there. Good job. Up next, we got Matt Dreyfus' Fishtown off in the corner, taking on Brian Sheen's Michael Sam's Gerbils. And as usual, Matt wins 124-98. Matt got 36 points out of A.J. Green, 34 points out of Andrew Luck, as well as 14 points out of Julio Jones. Where Brian received 33 points from his tight end, Julius Thomas, 12 points out of Tom Brady, and 12 points out of Shane Vereen. As long as both of those wide receivers stay healthy, A.J. Green and Julio Jones, Matt Dreyfus will be a tough opponent week in, week out, as long as those two are in his starting roster. Then we got Bob Crane's Julius Jones taking on John Moore's Downingtown Gravediggers. Now, John, don't get discouraged here. Your team performed pretty decently. You had some rough breaks with some of your draft picks being suspended, fired, whatever. But Bob wins this 150-114. Bob, you had a really solid showing this week from your wide receiver, Calvin Johnson, your other wide receiver, Cordero Patterson, and your kicker, Matt Bryant, who got you 18 points. Calvin got you 45, Patterson got you 35. Well, John, you got 42 points out of Matt Stafford, 16 points out of your Panthers defense, and 11 points out of Brandon Marshall. Now, Stafford kept you in it, but the problem was every time he threw a touchdown, or threw a ball for that matter, it was pretty much to Calvin Johnson. So every time you got points, so did Bob. Up next, you have my Warriors of Babylon took on the Paper Tiger, Jeff Szyminski's team, and I lost this one 90-72. Jeff got 22 points out of his receiver, Antonio Brown, 16 points out of Matt Forte, and 14 points out of his quarterback, Phillip Rivers. Where I received 24 points out of Jay Cutler, my quarterback, Brandon Cooks, my rookie, 14 points, and my other rookie, Carlos Hyde, got me 11. And all that totaled out to 72 points. Terrible showing for what I was hoping was going to be a juggernaut of a team. But matchups kind of sucked this week for certain teams, and mine was certainly one of them. League newcomer Aaron Stampa and his Snoozy Loafs took on Greg Long's Mount Laurel Lancers. And Greg won this one 124-80. Greg got 29 points out of Smoke 'Em If You Got 'Em, Le'Veon Bell. He also got 25 points out of his quarterback, Peyton Manning, and 24 out of 49ers defense. where Aaron received 27 points from Nick Foles as quarterback, 13 points from Martellus Bennett, and 12 points from Mike Wallace. Welcome to the league, Aaron. This is what it's like. Now we see what your medal's like as you're putting your team together. Don't get discouraged by your running back, Eddie Lacy. He had a brutal matchup against the shitbags up in Seattle. So you just have to deal with that every once in a while. Play your matchups. Then we got Mike Bonds, East Fall Blunts. Now, Mike, I want to appreciate the fact in front of the league that you did go ahead and you went ahead and changed your name to the East Falls Blunts. I know you had it as the East Falls LeGarrette Blunts, but as you can see from the graphic, I don't have enough room to put all that in there, and I don't want to change things. So I kind of kept it short, and I see that you went along with that, and I appreciate it, and I thank you. You took on Deputy Commissioner Chris Long's Asgardian Thunder Gods, and Chris won this one 112 to 104. Chris got 27 points out of his receiver, Jeremy Maclin, 21 points out of his quarterback, Drew Brees, and 16 points out of his wide receiver, Michael Floyd. Where, Mike, you received 20 points out of your Philadelphia Eagles defense, 14 points out of your tight end, Greg Olson, as well as 13 points out of Monte Ball. So that's the first week. I have some observations over it. Again, I'm not going to get carried away with it. We'll see what it's like after 3 weeks. We all know that our league champion, Jeffrey Hezekiah Goldenbaum, started off last season 0-4 and won the league. It's all a matter of what's going on. Some observations early on in the season. This whole Josh Gordon situation is crazy. What the league's going to do? Are they going to sign an agreement? Is it going to change? This and that. Wes Welker's in play here. So I have a roster spot on my team personally that I'm very interested in. Am I going to release him? What am I going to do? Not that there's anything on the waiver wire. I know Sheen's got Welker. He wants to know what's going on with Welker. Another interesting observation is Ray Rice no longer is employed. So what's going to happen in terms of that backfield? Is Bernard Pierce going to be the running back? Who are they going to go with? That's all of a sudden a hot topic around the NFL. Another thing I really wanted to talk to you about was, of course, we have our tight end watch. Nothing I like better than a tight end. And you all know that Bobby and I have our bet regarding end-of-season totals. Who's going to have more of a complete season, my Kyle Rudolph or Bobby's Jason Witten. And this past week, my tight end won 7 points to 1. Wow. Offensive explosions out of your tight end. That's one thing you want, is an explosion out of your tight end. If you have a tight end that can explode weekly, you've got something special. That's what I'm saying. Now, this is the point where I was going to do Meet the Manager, but I can't do Meet the Manager this week because I have to start it with the defending league champion. And as I said, the league champion and his bald heads are in Punta Cana on the beach right now, so I'm not going to call him out there. He does return my emails very quickly, which is scary. But I'm not going to bother it, so when he gets back next week, we will do that, and then we will start the Meet the Manager segment immediately after that every week. And one Meet the Manager that I'm very excited to call is Jeff Szyminski, because Jeff has never done a Meet the Manager. Somehow he seems to have dodged it every single time that I have done it. Last year, you all know that I did away with it, but I'm bringing it back this year. And I want you all to hear how Jeff can absolutely murder the English language sometimes. He's got that Delaware County accent. It's fantastic. I'm going to put the water in the hoagie. Got to go in the folder in your shoulder. It's going to be an excellent interview, and I'm just kind of teasing how it's going to be because I think it's going to be fantastic. And by the way, he did just beat me this past week, so I just want to bust his balls a little bit more. Okay, let's get to this coming week's matchups. First one I want to get to is my matchup against Deputy Commissioner Chris Long's Asgardian Thunder Gods. I need to get off the schneid, and this has happened, I can't tell you how many times this has happened, Chris, right? Every time I need a win in week 2, because I have a long history of losing the first match, I play you in the second week, and it is never easy. The rankings right now have the advantages, almost every one of them going to you, so right here I'm talking about Drew Brees against Jay Cutler, my shitload of receivers and terrible running backs going against your shitload of tight ends and wide receivers against average running backs. So who the hell knows where it's going to go? So that's that match. That's my professional, expert, novice opinion. Up next, we've got Greg Long's Mount Laurel Lancers taking on Brian Sheen's Michael Sam's Gerbils. This is going to be a fun game. You've got one of the Long kids. Oh, by the way, quick fact about last week. Only one Long lost last week, and that was Kenny. Chris and Greg both won. I'm liking Greg a lot in this one, to be honest with you. Then we've got a match that I think is going to be actually really fun to pay attention to. And we've got John Moore's Gravediggers, who has absolutely nobody playing right now in his starting roster. So it's looking good for you, Aaron. I think that you might actually be able to eke this one out. Up next, we've got the two Jeffs taking on each other. Jeff Szyminski and Jeff Hezekiah Goldenbaum. Right now, the projection is Jeff Szyminski will lose this one, 120 to 111. But you know what I say about these ESPN projections? I think they suck because they don't really take into consider our scoring format and the big play capability. And just ask Bob Crane what one big play can do, because Calvin with one catch last week and it was over. So you got to take that in consideration when you're looking at these projections. They're not taking into consideration our scoring system. We also have Mike Bond's Eastfall Blunts taking on Kenny's Godfathers. This is a matchup of two teams who lost last week. So this will put one team in a hole, 0-2. Not where you want to start your season. And then finally, we have Matt Dreyfus is off in the corner taking on Julius Jones, Bob Crane's team. This is going to be a fun match. You got two winning teams, two teams who won first week, taking on each other. But more importantly, you have two Jewish guys taking on each other, and they're both about 5 foot. Well, Bob's about 5 foot 3. Matt's about 5'8". So we could title this one Midget Wrestling, but I won't. All right, guys. It was a rough week. Let's regroup. Let's do this again next week. I'll call Jeff Hezekiah Goldenbaum. We'll hear how he talks about picking things with that he doesn't even know what they are. Fantasy football's back, guys. It's already frustrating. I'm already concentrating on waiver wires. Terrible feeling. Anyway, I'm League Commissioner Kevin Bulla.